$8,849 that they brought to me this morning to say that yes, to buy, hence I am giving out, making this assistance on behalf of government. They would also want to add up the little they were able to have to help those victims within Tujareng area.
That courageous move taken by the Alcalde of Tujareng was hailed by many who made their voices heard in this convergence. Some villagers urge the entire nation to emulate Tujareng whenever their communities are hit by similar calamities.
Gesture is what I hailed, simply because since 2009 up to date, incidences of flash flooding, windstorm, fire have been occurring. But what happened is the nature or the culture of the Gambian is that we rely on government, the NDMA, etc., etc. And I think when we talk of government, we should all realize that we ourselves are government. This is why I hailed the efforts of Tujareng people. The fact that they were able to mobilize themselves, the fact that they were able to pull out resources to help their own people, this should be a move emulated by every Gambian. Because we have to understand that disaster have no boundary. Disaster has to be everybody's business. Today is me, but tomorrow it could be you.
230 kilogram bags of rice were distributed to the victims. Each family went home with a bag of rice, a bucket, and a bag of second-hand clothing. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
The Director General of Gambia Tourism Board has used the opportunity provided by the build-up to the winter season to warn against erecting illegal structures within the tourism development area. Benjamin Robertson officials of partner institutions were on an inspection tour of the TDA. Babukar Kamara went along and he now reports.
The main reason for the outing really is to help us at the Gambia Tourism Board to have a better appreciation of the sort of activities that are taking place within the coast.
It is his first major field activity and that of his department following his appointment as Director General of the Gambia Tourism Board earlier this year. The debilitating condition of some beach bars and dense hideouts coupled with some fishing activities within the tourism development area is a practice authorities are not willing to compromise.
Now you've got designated fish landing sites on the entire coast. So the question is, why are these fishermen choosing to land their catches on an area that is exclusively for tourists? So you now talk of the sun, the sand and the sea, and you have fishing activity within the midst. It's not actually going to help in the promotion of tourism, because then we'll be sort of a condoning, the creation of dirty beaches, because you're going to have small fish, leftover fish being thrown on the beach. So these activities actually have a negative impact on what we are trying to achieve in terms of promoting this country as a tourism destination.
The impact of canoes within the tourism development area is significantly contributing to coastal erosion as fishing activities continues within the once sandy beaches.
It's quite important because if you want to promote tourism, there are certain things that you should not encourage. I'll give you an example. Around the Madis Pokoloko stretch, coming all the way down to Senegambia, you find a lot of the sand dunes being destroyed, and it's actually impacting on coastal erosion, and that is the part of the reason why we decided to invite the NEA, so that they would give us their professional advice in terms of whether that's actually contributing or not.
Well, definitely it could significantly have an impact on tourism, because first of all, tourists leave their countries and come here because they want to have pristine beaches of the highest standard. Now, if you have drainage in the beach area, it will cause soil erosion, and this soil erosion affects the aesthetic value or how beautiful the beach is. Secondly, if you have waste on the beach, people also don't want to go on beaches with waste. So I think those two problems, when solved, can have a significant impact on our tourism market. The drainage systems need to be looked at properly, and the suitable plans need to be drawn up and then implemented. I would suggest having channels which go all the way from the source all the way into the water, rather than letting it run, because the higher the velocity of the water and the volume, the more soil which is eroded.
The first phase of the exercise, comprising of assessment and serving of demolition notices by the Physical Planning Department, have just ended. Babukar Kamara, GRTS.
Well, you're reminded that you can monitor GRTS Radio live on our website, which is at www.grts.gm. We're going to take a very short break now. The news continues in just a moment.
There are many property companies out there, so making a choice can sometimes be difficult. This is why you should rely on a professional and experienced player in the market. Let me introduce introduce you to Universal Properties. Universal Properties. Universal Properties. Universal Properties are one of the oldest and the most reliable property company in the Gambia. Universal Properties, we have 3 great locations to offer: Lamin, Brufut, and also on the Sukuta Airport Highway. In Lamin, we have 25 by 20 with inner roads, electricity, water, and some residents are already in place. We are greatly located in Brufut and very well accessible. The place you would want to build your dream home. Universal Properties. Universal Properties. And in Sukuta Airport Highway, you can have easy access to the airport, roads, and all amenities. We are located on number 2 Carava Avenue FIB House on the 2nd floor. Call us on 788-8888, 618-8888, or 996-5204, or www.universalproperties.org. Universal Properties. In God we trust. In God we trust.
Welcome back to GRTS News. A wooden boat has capsized off the coast of Guinea, killing an unspecified number of people. Authorities in the region say only 27 of the over 60 people on board the striking vessel survived this accident. Survivors blamed engine failure for the disaster. Rescue crews are continuing their search for more bodies amidst rough conditions at sea. We have details in this report.
The Bulbine port in Conakry was the scene of a tragedy on Friday following the sinking of a wooden boat that was ferrying at least 60 people to an island off the Guinean coast. Only 27 people survived the accident.
There was a lot of wind. The motor stopped when we were approaching the new port, but they were able to restart it. The boat was having trouble getting into shore and the motor stopped again. That's when the boat started to sink.
Although there were only 20 seats on the boat, witnesses said that more than 60 people were on board. 25 passengers are still missing.
Unfortunately, there were a great many losses, a considerable loss of human life. 8 people are confirmed dead, including an infant and a young boy.
This is the latest in a series of boat accidents off the West African coast, where overcrowding and poor management are common and too often deadly.
Residents of a remote settlement in Congo's northeast region have turned to some unusual measures to guard against the spread of the deadly Ebola virus. People there have stopped shaking hands to stop the contagion. Health workers are working round the clock to contain the disease, with isolation wards created in the hospital housing a number of suspected Ebola victims. Let's look at this report for more on that.
To greet each other, the residents of Iziro use their elbows, even the visiting health minister. This is not a Congolese tradition, just a preventive gesture. In this region, in the northeast of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Ebola virus has been spreading fast in the past 2 weeks. To avoid physical contact, the locals have found this solution, an efficient way of escaping contamination. We heard at the church that when you shake hands, you catch the disease. It's very scary, and we can only hope that God will help us. The Ebola scare is slowly gaining ground within the population, not that they have never experienced an outbreak before. This is the 5th time the virus has hit the DRC since it first appeared in 1976. Healthcare workers are trying to contain the disease. In this hospital, an isolation ward has been created for the 20 patients who were formally diagnosed. There is no need to be fatalistic. It's a disease. The government and its partners have, in a timely fashion, initiated a response. We think we will break the chain of contamination and dissemination in the upcoming weeks. The outbreak struck in mid-August and comes on the heels of another Ebola outbreak in western Uganda. In the DRC, 12 people, including 3 healthcare workers, have died from this extremely contagious disease.
The Afghan Taliban says it is responsible for a twin suicide attack that targeted a massive NATO base. At least 12 people died in the attacks, with 50 others escaping with injuries. A market near the base was completely destroyed in the attacks. And the 2-day summit of the non-aligned movement has come to an end in Tehran, Iran. The summit's final declaration recognizes the